around since the dawn of time, right? They're one of the most essential elements of the human experience, from captivating each other around campfires to now as we scroll on our screens. And it's because stories tap into something fundamental, our emotions. Facts tell, but stories can sell. They allow us to connect with people, to identify their struggles and really celebrate their victories. And so by weaving a brand narrative, you're not just promoting a product or service, you're inviting people into your world, right? You're showcasing your value, what you stand for, the problems you solve, and hopefully the impact that you can create. And storytelling truly is a marketing superpower. It provides a number of things, right? Emotional connections that tap into that part of the brain that's really connected to the heart. When you connect with somebody on an emotional level, they're more likely to remember you, to trust you, to ultimately become an advocate for what it is that you're doing. So when you can answer the question, why does this matter? Why do we do what we do for the customer? Then you can really begin to tell the story of your brand. Creating memorable moments is important. And while catchy jingles might get stuck in somebody's head, a well-told story really sticks with them long after they've learned your brand name. A successful story, can really paint a vivid picture in the mind and make your message unforgettable. And it also helps us build relationships. We can showcase our personality through our brand stories. Are we playful and innovative? Are we authoritative and direct? Are we reliable and dependable? And by weaving these qualities into your narrative, you can build a bridge between your brand, your company, and the people you look to serve in your audience. And so, a couple of tips that I have for creating a brand narrative would be, focus really on your why. What's your brand's purpose? What drives you to do what you do? And really let that be the foundation of your story. Identify your hero. And if you think it's your company, it's not. It's your customer. They're your hero. They're the protagonist of your story, and they're facing challenges that your products, your services should solve. You should be the Excalibur to their King Arthur. And I think it's really important to always just keep it authentic. You can't just create a story, you have to live it, right? You have to let your brand values shine through whatever touch points you have with your customers, from your website to your social media, to your customer service teams, your email communications, wherever it is. So consistency, authenticity, they're important. And remember that, storytelling is a journey. It's not a destination. And consistently sharing your brand narrative is going to help you build that loyal community that is built around your purpose and that can hopefully create a lasting impact to your customers. There's no doubt that narratives are taking a wildly new form, right, with the continued evolution of tech. And some examples of that include, AI-powered personalization, right? Your brand stories now can really start to adapt to each and every customer. AI as a tool can really analyze preferences and start to tailor very quickly a narrative to their interests. Moving away from generic ads and creating a brand story that can be a truly personalized adventure is really exciting. Immersive experiences with AR and VR are really a new frontier, and stepping into a virtual world, right, where your customer can visit a brand headquarters and they can meet the team behind the product, or even potentially test it out virtually, depending on what it might be. VR really kind of opens up different channels for advertisements, and AR especially too. And even when you consider Apple's latest product, right, it's really kind of making waves. AR can really overlay information on the real world, right? And imagine taking an AR demonstration, right, of your product. And so taking it away from the showroom floor or the floor of a conference and letting somebody, interact with it in their living room is really an interesting idea too. And while these advancements probably won't replace traditional storytelling, they just add a powerful new dimension to it. And I think marketers are going to have to adapt and craft narratives that are built for that immersive and interactive experience, something that's adaptable and captivating. And some things to consider might be, thinking in experiences, right, instead of ads. So, what about your product or your services is most engaging and most interesting? And then create a campaign that really weaves sort of an immersive AR experience that highlights those aspects. I think data-driven storytelling is really fascinating with the advent of and the growth of AI, and tapping into those tools to analyze user behavior and tailor those experiences for a maximum impact. But one thing to keep in mind is that, AI is not going to do the work for you, right? Like any other resource in your repertoire, AI is a tool, but it's not a silver bullet. So, find ways to weave AI into your processes, but never lose the human touch that really makes your brand pop, that really resonates with people. Of multi-channel story really isn't a luxury anymore. It's an expectation. And so it starts really with your central narrative, right? With a strong foundation of your brand story. And like we discussed earlier, this is truly the essence of who you are, of what you stand for, of what problems you're solving. But now's the fun part, right? Once you have that established, you can start to think of each channel, organic and paid social media, your website, traditional advertisements, email communications, AR experiences, the list goes on, right? Think of them as individual threads in a larger narrative tapestry. Each thread can offer a unique perspective to your story, but they all have to weave together seamlessly in their look, in their feel, their tone, and their direction. And consistency is really the kind of the glue that holds everything together too, across multiple channels. And that's where the tech can come in. Consistent visual elements from design library, can really benefit the way that your audiences are seeing you every step of the way. Identify and stick to your brand voice and establish the storytelling themes that you'll be targeting across all channels. And it's going to create a familiarity and ensure that your audience recognizes your brand no matter where they interact with it. And this is the main reason that we always kind of recommend a headless CMS, something like Storyblock, to handle representing a brand across a number of different channels. With the right strategy and implementation, Storyblock and headless CMS like it, they let you develop a repository of creative that can appear just about anywhere with full brand consistency. And so it's a helpful tool, one that we really recommend businesses look into as they're trying to add a level of consistency across all the channels in which their story appears. And I think we all understand, how powerful stories can be, but their power really comes from the ability to connect and resonate with individuals. Generic tales just don't cut it anymore. We have to find ways to personalize our storytelling so that we're speaking to our customers and not at them. And since we've been talking so much about technology, there's some really great tools that we use to create personalized stories. And, while newsletters and email blasts have their place, sending the same message to everyone interested in your business isn't really best practice anymore. So marketing automation platforms and CRM systems like HubSpot, they really allowed you to collect valuable customer data, like purchase history, interests, demographics, which links they've clicked and which they've ignored. And you can use this data to personalize your storytelling by creating, target personas and tailoring narratives to the specific needs and desires of each of those persona groups. And when you look at the data, you really begin to see patterns across your customer base. For many of our clients, HubSpot's become a central nervous system for their business. The automation capabilities help us, shrink sales timelines from, multiple weeks down to just a few days. And we can also use it to display dynamic content depending on user region, interest, demographic data, all of which is stored in HubSpot. And so, we really believe that knowing your customers is key to knowing exactly how to convey the value of your company to them. And so a few thoughts to kind of keep in mind is there's the magic of AI and dynamic content, right? It's a marketing game changer. AI-powered content can dynamically generate stories that adapt to these target personas and individual users. Just imagine a website landing page that really adjusts its messaging based on visitor history, browsing history, and showcasing a product story that addresses their pain points by what it knows about them. Interactive storytelling with chatbots is an interesting way of looking into how to tailor these things to your customers. And, you sort of ditch the one-way communication, right? It becomes a dialogue. And interactive elements can really engage your audience in the storytelling process. Imagine a chatbot that guides your users through a product, a story that's based on their responses to some questions and some conversations they're having. It not only personalizes the experience, but also gathers some pretty valuable data for your future marketing efforts too. And don't shy away from user-generated content. Empower your audience to become part of the brand story. Run social media campaigns that encourage user-generated content that relates back to your brand narrative, because it creates a sense of community and authenticity, but it also allows your audience to see themselves reflected in the story. By personalizing your storytelling with tech tools like this, you can really transform from generic messaging to powerful narratives that resonate. Folks will stop feeling like passive consumers and start feeling like active participants in the journey. And so remember, personalization isn't just about dropping somebody's name into an email. It's really about making them the hero, the protagonist of the story. As far as trends go, AI is definitely going to continue to be a big wave in marketing. Its capabilities have already been conveyed in different ways through things like ChatGPT and Gemini and things like that. But I think we also have to be aware of its limitations and really our own limitations too. It's, like I said before, it's not going to be a silver bullet to anything. It is a new tool, and one that we're going to really have to understand and place into the right avenue that fits for your marketing work. I don't think it's going to replace copywriters. I don't think it's going to replace marketers. I think it's going to just help them elevate their game to a new level. And really, those that can understand it and harness that tool are going to find themselves in a really great place in the future. And the other thing is, I think interactivity is really only going to continue to grow. We're more connected now than we've ever been, and that's not going to change anytime soon, not from my point of view anyways. And so I think just thinking about how you can become more engaging, more interactive with your community, with the audiences that resonate with your product that you're trying to reach. I think building a brand story that welcomes your customers into the journey with you and makes them a part of this story is going to be, really, really beneficial for brands that embrace that in the future. And as far as advice goes, just don't neglect your narrative. Don't neglect your story. Just as you as a person or your business as an entity is going to continue to evolve and change to different factors, your brand narrative must change too. And so what resonated 3 or 4 years ago, is not going to feel as true and authentic as things might now. So be sure to pay close attention to that evolution and make sure that you're putting attention and time towards, updating and refining your brand narrative so that it reflects your own evolution and your own growth across the brand and in every touch point that your customers find you.